So we'll start on the left-hand side again. Receivers, you can take your arms wide to your body, a little bit below your shoulders, like Aaron is doing. Givers, come to stand over your friend and just rush your hands from their shoulders down to their wrists. Your legs can be bent, you don't have to be flexy. Just pick up their wrists softly and then scoot yourself back to gently traction their shoulders away from their ears. And release the arms back down to the ground, palms facing up. Step over to the left side. Scoop up the wrist on your left. Holding the wrist in this nice soft grip. Step your left foot forward, taking your elbow onto your knee to support so that their elbow is a little off the ground and you're slacking the chest. You're going to take your right hand and scoop from the shoulder back towards the chest. So you're scooping the soft tissue away, and with an exhale, you're going to lean shoulder over palm to sink into the chest. Better ankle. So each time you inhale, you lean back in your lunge. Each time you exhale, you lean forward. If it feels receptive, if this isn't too tight and too intense for your friend already, you can start to play the slot machine, allowing the arm to come down. As you keep pressure in that right hand. Eventually, we'll take the arm back down just below the shoulder and take your left hand in the middle of the forearm, start to walk your right hand down the middle of the bicep. Inhaling to release pressure, exhaling to pour. You can actually lean directly on the elbow. Elbow often really likes pressure. Surprisingly, not the knees so much, but the elbows do. And of course, checking in with your receiver, getting feedback from them on whether it's too much pressure, not enough pressure, if they're happy. I got a thumbs up from Aaron.
Yeah, in case not everybody knows, thumbs up if you like it, gimme fingers if you want more pressure, or tap out if it's too much.
So because you're muted and we can't hear you, you actually could use your voice as well. You know, in class format, we usually give sign language so we don't have a lot of chatter going on during class, but this might be one of the advantages here is that you can have more verbal feedback with your receiver without creating chatter for the whole class. Keep walking down the thumb and then come to sit so that your friend's arm is pointing directly at you. You're gonna take your hands around the arm, making like suction cups with your hands, as much contact as possible. Your thumb's landing in the elbow pit. And then inhale, sit up tall in your body. And exhale, start to lean back, tractioning just the skin. So it's not a super strong grip, it's a more superficial grip. And you're allowing the skin to slide through your hands as your thumbs trace this path towards their thumb. And pointer finger at the same time. So you slide off of both of those, however feels natural to you to do that, keeping the contact. Use your left hand to keep a hold of the pointer and use this little pincer so you can use the joint of your thumb and this little knuckle shape to make a little pincer, and you're gonna use that pincer on this big strong thumb muscle. We're gonna make little circles so you can see I use my whole body, even though my hand is working a little bit. This is one of these rare moves where we are gonna use a little bit of hand strength, but I'm still gonna have that motion motivated by my center. So I'm still making a circle with my center as I sink into the thumb muscles. Okay. Slide your right hand down to the end of the pointer. Take your left thumb joint now, put it in the anatomical snuff box. So if their thumb is pointed up towards the ceiling, this spot here at the base of the thumb is going to be a little divot. We call it the anatomical snuff box. And I'm going to put my joint of my thumb, not my thumb tip, but the joint of the thumb right on that spot. And I'm going to use my fingers underneath to create a nice squeeze, a sideways squeeze on the wrist. I traction this pointer back and I keep that tension and make tiny little circles, and it'll change the engagement under my thumb. Make sure you don't let this go slack. It really is not very effective this way and it feels clunky. Keep that tension in the pointer finger and make some little circles. And we'll set that hand down with the thumb pointing up-ish towards the ceiling. You can bend the elbow and find the outside of the elbow crease here. That's your destination. You're going from the anatomical snuff box to this point. So you want to walk along that ridge of muscle. You can do it either with your thumbs, leaning in with straight arms into the thumb joints, or you can do it with the heels of your hands. It's a broader tool. You don't have to be as specific. You just want to get on the meatiest part of this line. However feels natural to you, find a tool and then lean into it as we walk up towards that outside corner. When you get there, you are going to put a thumb joint in it and use the heel of your hand to lean into that spot. It should be pretty intense. If there's no tension there, or it's not a little bit intense, either your friend doesn't text and type, or you're not on the right spot. So see if you can find the kind of intense spot. Yeah, Aaron's making frowny face with his eyebrows, so I know I'm on the right spot, and I'm going to ease up just a little bit so his eyebrows relax. All right, sweep down the arm, put their hand on their belly. I'm going to come back to my left leg forward in the lunge. And use the heel of my left hand now to walk up the outside of the arm. Using my right hand to keep their hand on the belly also kind of creates a nice reassuring pressure on the belly with their own hand. My left hand is nice and soft and finding as full contact as I can, not just weight in the heel of the hand, but in the whole palm. Walking up. Kind of fascial tight line until we get to the front of the shoulder. I'm going to lean the hand into the front of the shoulder. And you may feel with your middle finger, for me on most bodies, no matter the size, I really find that right here with the heel of my hand on the anterior delt, my middle finger falls into this little canoe between the scapula and the collarbone. There's this little canoe, end of the canoe. You want to sink your fingertip into that, and then give you a new angle. With the fingertip sinking into the spot, I'm going to draw back, and I'm holding the thumb and the pointer, because those are meridian endpoints for today and starting point. I'm going to sink into this point, and I'm using my knee on my arm to create the pressure downward. So it's this little, I don't know, like digger truck action. I'm not using so much strength in my arm so that I can use this knee to sink in with that finger, and then I draw back and wiggle to get a nice release in that point in the shoulder. Give a little squeeze to the traps, because why not? And then sweep down, and we'll change sides. Pick up this arm with your right hand now. Step your right leg forward. I'll let all of you switch sides. It looks like I got a little bit ahead of you. Take your left hand, scoop from the shoulder back towards the chest, scooping any soft tissue out of the way, and then exhale, sink into the chest. Shoulder over wrist. Make sure your left knee is back so that your lower back has a nice curve to it and you're not rounded and scrunched over in your posture. I'll show you what let's see. Got my back knee way back, so it's a nice stretch for me. I'm getting like a nice stretch in my left hip flexors. Okay. So with the arm lifted, this is the softest way because the pecs are slacked. If it feels receptive, you can start to play the slot machine. Arm overhead is going to be the strongest contact. Going nice and slow, still using the breath. Find one more smush and release. Take the arm out to the side. Let your right hand lean into the forearm. I've now taken my right foot way out wide so that I'm still comfortable in my body. And start to walk the left hand down the bicep. If you prefer, you can also be on hands and knees if that's more comfortable for you. You get kind of a nice curve in your lower back on hands and knees. It's a little different. I'm walking both hands down, however feels organic, right down the middle of the line. Make sure you're still using your breath. It's the best trick I know to keep yourself out of your thinky brain and in your feeling body is to exhale and pour, inhale and release. And then we'll come to sit with our friend's arm pointing at us. Take your thumbs to the elbow pit. Find that suction cup. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. And exhale, start to lean back. Let their skin slide through your hands. If you have a wall behind you or you don't have room to scoot your butt back, you'll just bend your arms, but you still want to keep your spine upright and keep the traction coming from a lean in your center rather than from a pulling in your arms. We'll slide down the thumb and the pointer, however feels organic to you to do that. And then hold the pointer in your right hand, find that little pincer with your left hand, and make some smushes from your center, whole body moving, even as your thumb is doing a little work. Then we'll switch so that your left hand is holding the pointer, your right thumb comes into the anatomical snuff box, other fingers are underneath the wrist. Give a nice solid squeeze to the wrist sideways, traction that pointer back, and then just make some little circles. Let that go. Bring yourself back into a slightly more elevated posture. So up in this kind of archer's lunge or up into a proper lunge. Their thumb pointing up-ish. You can bend the elbow to find where you're going, the end of the elbow crease. And you're going from the anatomical snuff box to that point. You can take one thumb with a on top of it. You can do two thumbs together. You can just use the heels of the hands. Find a way to walk up this mountain ridge, this line of muscle. And when you get to that crease, plant the thumb joint on it and then lean a palm onto it slowly. I had a client who had some large intestine troubles, and every time I worked this line on her, when I got to the second side and finished it, she farted. It was amazing. All right, take their hand to their belly and start to walk from that outside corner of the elbow up the bicep tricep zone. I'm doing the same thing where I'm bracing my arm on my leg to take the work out of the shoulder so that the pour is really genuinely coming from my hips shifting forward and not from any kind of pushing energy in my shoulders, my arms, my hands. Eventually you'll get up to that front of the shoulder, kind of intense spot. Yeah, Aaron's nodding. And then the middle finger will land in the tip of the canoe. And you'll hold the pointer and thumb. Use some leverage from your leg if you can to press into that point, draw back, and wiggle. Their trap, a little squeeze, and then brush down the arm. And we'll come overhead. However your favorite position is to be overhead, I'm gonna be in a little child's pose this time. Let's just roll the head to the right. Take your left hand behind the head and then roll the head back so that it lands in your left hand. So we're looking for the SCM now, which attaches at the sternum and the inside corner of the collarbone, sternocleidomastoid, if you don't know this one, and up to the mastoid process just behind the ear. So maybe just gently feel that line, see if you can feel the bulk of muscle there, and then you can use that same pincer tool, the joint of the thumb and your little forefinger nubbin, and see if you can squeeze up gently. You got to kind of sink in with those on either side of the bulk of the muscle and then start to squeeze in and see if you can get the nice bulk of the muscle. It's pretty thick on most people. So if you've got something thin, you're working something more superficial. And it also is usually got some tenderness, some tension in it. So just meet the tension and then imagine it melting. Relax your shoulders as you give. Take a couple breaths yourself. And then gently release it, give a little brush. We'll switch hands. And I'll switch to the other side so you can see. Switch which hand is underneath the head. Same thing, see if you can feel where the bulk of that muscle is. Sink in with the thumb and the pointer nugget, and then give a squeeze to that muscle. Just meet the tension, don't force it, don't try and do anything to it, just be there and ask if it would like to surrender. To let go. And then gently go ahead and let go of it yourself. Brush along that muscle. Release their head back down to the ground. Thank your friend for receiving. We will finish with one last spot that we'll all do to ourselves. Normally we do this in the Thai sequence, but I decided not to have us touching each other's faces. I'm not sure it makes that much of a difference, but anyway, it's sort of nice to know this spot on yourself anyway. So when you're all back and ready, I'll talk everybody through finishing the meridians. I'm sitting on your phone. Hi, beautiful people. So you can take your pointer fingers, since this is you can remember that this is large intestine, because if you pull on your pointer, what happens? Yeah. So take your large intestine start point, and we're going to take it to the end point. It's just outside the nasolabial groove. Sarah, you can correct me if I don't have the exact placement, but I feel like it's just directly out from that little groove. Yeah.
Well, this is special because we can actually see our faces when we do this. If you just
Yeah.
follow the groove to where it hits your nose, that's where it is.
Yeah. And sink into that spot. And we all look awesome. I want a screenshot of this. And especially if you have any congestion, this will be tender. And you can even make some little circles here. And I find that just rubbing this spot on myself, I just got a clearing in my sinuses. It really moves gunk. That's that.